2006's Superman Returns is a movie that is hard to look back on entirely fondly, but it does have one of my favorite scenes out of any superhero movie. And probably the biggest reason that it's my favorite scene is because it has a superhero actually saving people. If you haven't seen Superman Returns, hey, I don't blame you. It's 17 years old at this point. It was a direct sequel to Superman 2. They were really pulling off that, hey, this movie counts, this movie doesn't count in continuity thing well before it was popular. But in the movie, Brendan Routh plays Superman, who returns to Earth after being away for a while, and he discovers life has moved on. Lois Lane is now engaged to James Marsden, who continually was being cast as this guy who was having to fight off superheroes to keep his girlfriend. Plus, Lois has this kid who, we're not sure who the dad is. But as fate would have it, just as Superman is getting back to Earth, Lex Luthor, who had been married to a rich socialite for the last few years, finally inherits his new wealth and uses it to grow new land. So to get us to the scene itself, NASA is trying out this new way of launching a rocket where they're putting it on an airplane and then launching it from the airplane. And of course, because it's a news event, Lois Lane is going to be there too. But because of things Lex Luthor is doing, everything goes haywire, and the rocket starts up while it's still attached to the plane, putting everybody in mortal danger. Now, up to this point in the movie, we have not actually had Superman show up. But man, does he show up in this scene. Superman is flying at supersonic speed. Superman is using his heat vision. He's using his super strength. All of the stuff you want to see Superman doing. So Superman shows up. He gets the space shuttle detached from the plane. And he gets the astronauts all into space just fine. But that's just the first stage of this rescue. At this point, we really get to experience my next favorite thing when it comes to these superhero movies. And that's seeing the limitations of the character. You might say, hey, Seth, Superman doesn't have limitations. He's too strong. He's boring. But this scene does a perfect job of encapsulating some of the things that make Superman so interesting. See, as the plane is falling, Superman's chasing it and trying to stop it, but he's just too strong for the world around him. He's stopping the plane from spinning, but in doing so, he accidentally rips the plane's wing off, which sends him flying backwards and then having to catch up with the plane as it's continuing to hurtle towards the Earth. And as that second wing breaks off, we get one of my favorite just shots in any superhero movie, which is completely sold by the score, which is done by John Ottman. And as he gets down and is continuing to try to stop the plane from falling, things just escalate even more as it turns out that it's going to crash into a baseball stadium. And as all this has been going on, we've been cutting back and forth between Superman and Lois Lane, which keeps this scene grounded, right? It'd be really easy for it to just be like, oh, it's a big spectacle scene where it's all about the visual effects, but we keep cutting back to Lois Lane. Superman, of course, catches the plane, puts it down in front of everybody, and then Superman flies away and it cuts to black. Now, when I went and saw The Flash recently, it was very, very nice to see a scene where he was actually just saving people. And I'm really, really hoping that we're going to get to see more of that as time goes on with the DC movies. Because I just don't know if that's really in the cards for Marvel at this point. Because with Marvel, outside of saving people from falling debris, I think Spider-Man's the only guy we have that's going to be doing any rescuing.